31 Days of Horror HullabaBoo ends with this video. We're going to be ranking all 31 zombie movies I watched this month in order from worst to best right now. Starting at the bottom, we are going Elixir, Alive, Corpse Bride, Maggie, World War Z. First up with Elixir, some okay things in it. I like the scene with the rain where the zombies stop because of the rain. I like the idea that this all took on place on one road, like the idea of a dysfunctional family. The movie itself doesn't use all those things in the, I guess, best way possible. So it ends up just being completely forgettable. Much like the next Netflix zombie movie on here, hashtag Alive. Again, none of these movies are necessarily bad. I don't regret watching any of them. They're just completely forgettable. Like Alive, I believe I watched a week or two ago, and I'm already trying to scratch my brain and search around for what actually happened in this movie because the zombie apocalypse starts within like 3 minutes of the movie. You don't really know what the characters were like before the zombie apocalypse. Then you just see them trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, and it's just not good. There's nothing. It's again completely forgettable. Corpse Bride next up. I saw the re-release in theaters with my son. It's just, again, you go in expecting Nightmare Before Christmas, and you just get a movie with no memorable songs, no real memorable set pieces. And the story is he marries a corpse bride, and then at the end, she's like, "Oh, you should marry the other girl." That's the whole movie. It's just the characters aren't colorful enough or memorable. The songs are completely wasted and forgettable. So, Corpse Bride. Next up, I watched Maggie, which is an interesting take on a zombie movie, which is I actually kind of liked how they did the zombies in Maggie, which it was like the zombie virus is almost treated as like a terminal illness where it's this slow methodical transformation into a zombie, and it kind of deals with the family drama of your loved one being, bitten, and then having to deal with the ramifications of like, oh yeah, in a couple weeks, in a couple months, I can't remember how long it was, but in a while, your loved one is going to turn into a zombie. Like, what do you do? How do you do it? And again, maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of his best just overall performances and just how good he was in that movie. But yeah, Maggie. World War Z, a movie I actually don't have a video on my channel because it was going to be one of the last ones. And then I watched it and I was kind of just like, like why? Like World War Z, everybody knows what it is. The Brad Pitt movie where he's like the world's most perfect person. He's like the best father, the best husband, and then the army is like, or the entire US government is like, we only want you, we only need you, you need to come and do this for us. So much so that we're going to blackmail you into doing it for your family safety. Again, it's different than the other zombie movies because you don't really see anything happen with the zombies in it. There's not really one memorable zombie scene in it because again, it's PG-13. Most of the zombies in the movie are CGI and they just look awful. This movie came out less than 10 years ago, and the CGI in it is just abysmal, especially when they do the close-ups of the zombies. It's really bad. They Brad Pitt at the end finds a cure, and the cure is just like, oh, just get sick. Like zombies don't like sick people. So, and it was just one of those things where it was like, Brad Pitt was the only person that ever thought of that. He was the only one in the entire world who was just like, oh, the sick people aren't being attacked by zombies. That was just a weird, like, even the scientists are like, what? We can't believe, like, and also Brad's Pitt job title in that movie is just like investigator, but he's an investigator for the army. Like, what does he investigate? I don't know. Again, that movie, it's fine. It's enjoyable, but as far as a zombie movie goes, it's kind of weak in all aspects of the zombiness of it. And even the book has weird politics. The movie's politics are really weird. There's like a part in it where one of these captured soldiers is just like, the most impressive thing that happened during the zombie apocalypse was North Korea just pulled the teeth of every single one of its inhabitants so they couldn't spread the disease. Like, isn't that amazing? And it's just like nobody pushes back on that, being like, that's messed up. Everybody's just kind of just like, yeah, you're right, that is a bait. Like, okay, okay. Like the weird, again, politics of the movie and the book are just for a whole nother topic. But World War Z, again, not necessarily a great zombie movie, but a pretty okay movie. Next up on the list, we had Dawn of the Dead, the remake, 28 weeks later, One Cut of the Dead, Warm Bodies, Overlord, and Planet Terror. So, all of these movies I have a video for if you want to hear me talk more in depth about this specific movie that I'm going to be just kind of broadly talking about in this mix. And that'll go for a lot of these movies. There was only, I believe, four that I did not have a video on. So, with the Dawn of the Dead remake, again, Dawn of the Dead is so iconic and has so many just memorable lines and moments in it. To remake it already is going to be kind of a struggle and an uphill battle. And then you watch the movie itself, especially now, and it feels very dated for the early 2000s. Yes, that opening is great, but there's so many parts in that movie where you're just like, why are we doing this zombie baby thing? Why are we doing this, where they're in a mall, but no, we have a what 2 minute montage of them just having fun in the mall. And it was like the whole purpose of them being in the mall is to have this wish fulfillment fantasy of like, oh, you can do anything in the mall. And it's like fun, times getting all this stuff, killing zombies, like all that kind of stuff. The Dawn of the Dead remake is just not as fun as the Dawn of the Dead, the original, which is a movie I'd seen for the first time doing this thing for this month and really enjoyed it. Thought it was really fantastic. It's fun and has levity when it needs to, and deadly serious when, you feel like the stakes have never been higher. The Dawn of the Dead remake just never feels as fun. There's just some dumb stuff in it too, where the girl is chasing after a dog in the middle of the zombies and she gets away in the middle of it. And it's just, I really like the thing with this guy across the street with the sign, but then he puts the blood on it and holds it up, and you're just like, okay. Again, it's dumb, but it's dumb in a way where you're just like, that's dumb. Not in a way where the first one is like, that's dumb, but it's kind of fun. Like, just not fun. 28 weeks later, again, my pick for even more so than the Dawn of the Dead remake, the best opening to a zombie movie ever. That opening is with the score, with how it's set up and how it ends up paying off through the rest of the movie, just absolutely fantastic, absolutely terrifying. It's especially compared to the 28 days later opening, which is iconic, where Cillian Murphy's character wakes up in the, hospital, and he's walking through the London and it's just completely abandoned. But that opening for 28 weeks later is fantastic. Now, the only thing with that having one of the best zombie openings of all time is the rest of the movie has to follow it, and it can't, because again, much like with the Dawn of the Dead remake, the dumbest things have to happen to move the plot along, where the kids, they find their mom in the attic, and then she brings back the zombie thing, and then the husband just decides to make out with her, and that like transmits the rage virus. Again, the steps you get to the point where it's at the end of the movie, that how you get the rage virus into the movie is dumb across the boards, and easily explains why that movie is the least beloved of the now trilogy for 28 days, weeks, and years later. One Cut of the Dead is technically not a zombie movie, and one of the movies on one of like the three movies on this list where you could be like, is this really even a zombie movie? Because this movie is about the making of a zombie movie. And the first, I want to say half hour, you just see like a bad zombie movie that is really bad, but it's really bad in like kind of a funny way, kind of an awkward way, but it's also a movie where, like myself, I just went in not knowing anything. So in the first 30 minutes, I was like, am I going to have to shut this off and just pick a different movie because it's so bad? And then you see after it where, oh, we're actually just seeing the final product. Now we're going through the process of how they made that movie and why certain weird parts of the movie happened. It is a really good video. It is a really good film about making movies. It's not necessarily a good movie that I personally liked or enjoyed as much as some of the other, actual zombie movies in here, but maybe in a different context than a marathon of zombie movies, I would have liked it more, but was just expecting something different and then just got like a pretty decent, okay movie. Warm Bodies was the longest video I did the entire month of all the zombie movies because I did that video with my wife. Shout out to my wife for doing that video with me. And I did it with my wife because it is a zombie love story. It's Again, I was just looking for a wide variety of zombie movies with different kinds of zombie flavoring throughout the month. And this one was woman falls in love with a zombie. How they handle zombies in this movie is really weird, really interesting compared to other zombies because in this one, like people can just not be zombies anymore. And that's kind of what the movie is about. Like them being people, finding a cure to someone being a zombie, which you're watching the movie and you're just like, okay, like the logic of it kind of doesn't make sense because if you're dead, how would just finding love make you not dead? Especially when you die and you can be brought back to life just by liking someone else. It's the logic, and again, all that kind of stuff doesn't make sense in the context of the movie and how they explain it. It ends up being a kind of cute movie with a nice ending and all that kind of stuff. So had some laughs, had some good stuff. Overlord is, I think, one of the most underrated zombie movies of all time. It is a great war movie that then takes a twist where it just switches genres and suddenly goes from war movie to zombie movie, and the zombies are like horrific, and it's all Nazi experiments where their experiments are turning the dead into like these 1,000-year soldiers with all these advanced, health and stamina and strength. It's very much a video game version of like if you're playing like Wolfenstein, and then all of a sudden, instead of what in that, I haven't played that game. Instead of that game, I think it's vampires in that one. It is zombies in this one. So it's a great movie, really underrated. Feels a little too similar to like other war movies in the beginning of it. You can tell they're kind of just building up to the zombie part with all the war stuff, but the war stuff's good. It's shot in a really interesting way. So Overlord, definitely recommend. Planet Terror, I love Robert Rodriguez. Go listen to pretty much my love letter to him in that Planet Terror review. But as far as this movie goes, it's a grindhouse, salute to the grindhouse movies. It is a homage to that style of filmmaking, which I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of grindhouse films. I'm not really a gore and violence in my movies kind of guy. So if you're into that, this movie's great. For me, I got what they were doing, so I wasn't too like grossed out or even offended by it. I wouldn't say that, but this movie does have some really good stuff in it. The acting in it is always shockingly good to me when I watch this movie. I'm always surprised by how well even like the cartoonish characters in this movie just act throughout the entire movie, outside of the Jeff Fahey character who is supposed to, be the comic relief. But yeah, it's really good. It's very stylized. Again, I like when Robert Rodriguez just makes these movies that if anybody else made them, they would just be kind of a cookie cutter, like this would be, a zombie, apocalypse movie, and he makes it all flashy and cool. So again, it's a very cool movie and I would recommend it again. Next up, we have Fido, Night of the Creeps, White Zombie, Last Man on Earth, and Nightmare City. I believe this has the remaining number of films that I do not have an independent video on. Fido was a movie that I was pleasantly surprised by, and it's one of those movies where the opening of it, you see that an alien invasion has happened or something has come from space, landed on Earth, make zombies. The world has basically won this zombie war, and now we're kind of in this idealistic version of the 1950s America after a zombie apocalypse, where a corporation called Zomcom has made a collar that zombies wear that basically pacifies them and makes them into basically servants. So there's a lot of obviously social commentary when it comes to like slavery and the people treating these zombies as if they're not what they are, which is real people, just obviously real dead people. But there's a lot of really cool world building in this movie. The performances are fantastic. Like the mom and the dad, I wish I would have wrote down what their names were. I think one of them is Carrie Ann Moss from The Matrix. They're fantastic in it. Like everybody in this movie is really good. And the kid, it's a boy and his dog story, and the dog obviously is the servant zombie for this one family, but the mood is really cool. The comedy, it made me laugh a couple times, and the overall world building of it, where it's the 1950s, but just a little bit more advanced. And they talk about how the cities are encircled where by like these fences, and the zombies have been kept out. And it's kind of like this repressive 1950s mixed with this like take on slavery mixed with a zombie movie, and it's also kind of funny, and again really cool vibe of the movie, really cool atmosphere, really good, maybe the best world building of any of the zombie movies. Just they do this quick little 3 minute, like kind of like propaganda zombie film talking about Zomcom in the beginning of the movie that pretty much explains how we got from zombie alien invasion to the point where now we have this caller for zombies. All really great stuff. All I really always like the 1950s used as a setting for these kind of movies with zombies and alien invasions and all that kind of stuff. So this movie does it right. And again, maybe the biggest hidden gem I found of the newer zombie films compared to the old ones. So Fido, definitely check it out. Night of the Creeps, much in the vein of Fido, has that really great opening where it's set in the 1950s, and we see how these alien slugs get on the planet, that they go into people, they turn them into zombies, and then kind of like lay brains or lay eggs in their brain and then burst out, and then the bugs go and get more people to get turn them into more zombies. Again, this movie, very cool style, had some jokes that made me laugh, and just the vibe of it's fun. I wish we would have gotten sequels to this, because you can tell there was multiple things in this movie where they were setting up, planting seeds for more sequels. But overall, not much to say about Night of the Creeps. It was just a movie that I watched where I was like, oh, it was enjoyable. I'll watch that again. White Zombie, the oldest film I watched on this list, and that's only because it's credited as being the first movie to have zombie in the title. Now, this one came out in, I believe, 1931, and White Zombie is in the movie, the zombies are the Haitian version of zombies, which are kind of just brainwashed servants. They're not the undead, even though they kind of are, because in this movie, in order for you to be a zombie, you first have to be dead. And then they kind of like, some guy comes along, paid by Bela Lugosi. I think his name is something Leggett or something like that. I can't remember, but he comes along, he turns you dead into his servant, that he controls you. And again, it's only an hour. Like this movie is, I think, an hour and 7 minutes. So it's a quick watch. It's a good watch. It definitely has some of the most aggressive and like bone chilling sound design you're ever going to hear in a movie. The way they make the vultures sound in this movie is like people screaming, and it's really like it makes the hair on your arm stand up. It gives you goosebumps just how they do all that. It's a very creepy movie. It's a very creepy sounding movie. There is a lot of heavy lifting in this movie done by not only the score but the sound design. And again, those vulture screams are haunting. So, White Zombie, it's an oldie but a goodie. Definitely worth checking out. Speaking of oldie but a goodie, Last Man on Earth was a movie that was one of the 3 or 4, or no, I think there's only like 3. One of the 3 movies on this list where you can go, "Is it a zombie movie?" I don't know, because in this one, they're vampires, they only come out at night, but they're also zombies in the sense that they're not really trying to suck your blood so much, they're just trying in this one, it's Morgan with hands down the most annoying zombie in movie history, which is his former neighbor who just stands outside of his house nonstop, just saying, "Morgan, Morgan," all night, just banging on. All these zombies do is just bang on your house all night until they go back in to their houses when daylight comes out. So, again, this is a zombie vampire kind of hybrid, but it had to be on the list of movies I watched for this because George A. Romero has said that this movie basically inspired his ghouls that would eventually become zombies from Night of the Living Dead. So you can almost make a direct line from this movie to the birth of the zombie genre that we know it of today. Next up, we have Nightmare City, a movie I just watched a couple days ago, so it's still fresh in my mind. It's fantastic. Again, the zombies in this movie are like nuclear radioactive kind of like freaks who are super aggressive and are just murdering everybody. The ending is shocking. It has some really good stuff in this movie. It has some laughable stuff where everyone dead from the zombies where you don't see them being killed just has like a little blood right here or a little run of blood right here, but their performances are great in this movie. The concept is really cool. It being over in Italy and made in Italy just gives you some of those famous Italian horror movie scenes where it's just like, why did that happen? What was the point of that scene? But in a really funny and interesting way, but also some of this movie is just horrifying because again, the zombies in this movie, first credited case where the zombies are not slow moving, they're fast moving, and not only do they suck the blood of you, much like the Last Man on Earth zombies who are vampires, but in this one, they stab you, they shoot you, they are just like overpowered radioactive zombies. So they don't just try to eat you, they try to stab you, shoot you, kill you in really any way they can. Next up, we have Reanimator, Paranorman, Zombie, or Zombie 2, 28 Days Later, 28 Years Later, and Wreck. Reanimator is, first off, just a very good movie. Now, the humor in Reanimator does not work necessarily for me, where I know people are like, maybe not, this isn't the funniest movie ever, but they see it as a horror comedy. When I first watched this, I just thought, oh, this is a straight up horror movie. I don't even necessarily know where the jokes are outside of, the main Harry Potter looking guy just kind of just being over the top and chewing the scenery. Some of those things you get like a smirk out of me, but this movie, you can play it dead straight and get something out of it. You can play it as a horror comedy and get more out of it. But for me personally, the humor is just non existent with how just gut wrenching the movie is. And just the idea of what happens in this movie is absolutely terrifying. So, Reanimator, great movie, but dear Lord. Next up, Paranorman, one of the 2 animated films I saw in this. Go watch that video with me that me and my son did. He's losing his mind in it. It's funny. But Paranorman, again, movie I'd never seen. Really good movie, really good kids movie, good message at the end. And one of the few movies on this list where you get to see the zombies actually be kind of like the good guys. So worth checking out, especially if you have kids. My kid loved it. My kid loved that movie way more than Corpse Bride, and I did as well. So go check out Paranorman. Next up, Zombie. There was one comment saying, first person to ever call this movie a masterpiece. I did not call it a movie masterpiece. I called it a zombie masterpiece because I do think it's one of the probably top 5 most influential zombie movies on this entire list because of how just not only iconic that poster is, but just iconic scenes are from this movie that I always heard about without ever seeing this movie. So One of the most interesting being zombie versus shark. Again, I just did this video I think yesterday, but go watch the zombie versus shark scene. It is incredible. I can't talk enough about zombie versus shark. How did they film that? How did they do zombie versus shark? It is mind blowing when you watch zombie versus shark because you're just like, that looks like a real shark that this guy in zombie makeup is just like wrestling underwater. Again, it's crazy. It's go watch it. Go watch the movie for specifically that scene and then the scene where the wood goes into the lady's eye. Those two scenes are worth the price of admission alone and enough to make it a zombie masterpiece. Just that alone. The rest of the movie, pretty good if you can get past the first like half hour where just nothing happens. But then the last hour of the movie, everything happens and it's amazing. 28 days, 28 years later, we'll just do these in combo because I really love 28 days later. I just think that opening is one of the most iconic zombie movie moments in all of movie history. I just think it sets a great tone for the rest of that movie. Yes, this movie being shot on what, like a handheld camera or whatever, does not hold up at all. It's a very ugly looking movie just in terms of the video quality, but that's to be expected. It doesn't, I don't think it elevates any part of the film for it to have been shot that way. If this was just a normal film shot on film, it would not take away anything from this movie. In fact, it would add more to it because, yeah, the quality of it is, yeah. But outside of that, I always love this movie up until they get to the army house with all the army guys, and then they kind of become the bad guys of the movie and just like cartoonishly evil. I've never liked that part of the movie, so that's why it's not pretty much in the top, what, 10 for me on this list. But outside of that, I love this movie. I love everything in the first two acts. It's just always when it gets to that third act that it kind of loses me. Now, 28 years later, probably the newest movie on my list outside of Elixir. I think Elixir is, but outside of Elixir and Alive, obviously this movie came out this summer, 20 years after 28 Days Later. I think it was 25 years. Couldn't have waited 3 more years. I said that in the review. I actually have a review of this movie not only for Halloween HullabaBoo, but also back in the backlog for when this movie actually came out in theaters and I went and saw it. So if you want really in depth, go listen to that one. But I this movie is my favorite of the 28 years movies, or the 28 days, 28 weeks. 28 years is my favorite. I just think, again, that one scene where the son and Spike, or the Spike and his father, are running from the Alpha, and you see the night sky behind him and they're running on that little sandbar or whatever. Just really good stuff. Really cool world building, really cool just explanation of what the world has been like since the 28 days later, because they kind of, take 28 weeks later out of this canon and just kind of push it to the side. But the ideas in this movie are cool. I really think Ray Fiennes comes in and is just one of the most interesting characters of any of these zombie movies, where he's just covered in, what is it, the iodine or whatever, because he thinks it wards off zombies. Again, just really cool, really good ideas, really cool world building, and I am so excited to see what the sequel is, coming out in 2-3 months, I think. So 28 years later, 28 days later. Great movies, great series. Wreck, again, this movie is absolutely terrifying. I think it's from Spain, Mexico. Can't remember off the top of my head, but just all takes place in one apartment building, where the apartment building is locked down for basically a zombie infestation, where it's pretty much Dawn of the Dead, where they do the, raid on the apartment complex. But this one, instead of doing the raid, they just lock the whole thing down until they can figure out what to do. It is probably the most straight up horror movie on this zombie list, has the most horror elements of it, and yeah, it's terrifying. This movie is probably the scariest zombie movie on this list. So if you're looking for just a straight up scary movie involving zombies, this is the pick, because this is an all-time classic for a reason. Zombieland Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Brain Dead, Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, and Day of the Dead. So, Zombieland, again, you watch Zombieland now and you forget how good of an actual movie it is. Yes, there's funny stuff in it. Yes, there's memorable stuff in it that is funny and you quote it. But when you're watching the movie now, you're just like, oh, yeah, I forgot how good of an actual zombie movie this is. Like the part where you see the origin of the zombies through the eyes of the Jesse Eisenberg character and how he discovered zombies. Like that movie, you could take out of the zombie comedy movie and put in any actual zombie movie and it would work without having to change a thing. The movie itself has some very good zombie stuff in it. So if you're looking, much like The Reanimator, where if you're looking for just a good zombie movie, you can watch just Zombieland, right? If you're looking for a comedy zombie movie, you can also watch Zombieland. Pleasantly surprised by just how good of a movie that is. And again, the Bill Murray cameo, maybe one of the best movie cameos of all time. Return of the Living Dead. This is maybe the one of, if not the best, just pure zombie movie I watch because this is the scariest version of zombies. Of all the movies I watched, and we'll talk about some ahead of here that do have scary zombies in it, but none of them hold a candle to the terrifying zombies of Return of the Living Dead, because this is my pick. If we were doing awards, these are the scariest zombies in movie history in terms of zombies. No matter what you do, you can't kill them. If you burn the bodies for these, all that does is just turn it into rain that then rains down and you get more corpses. So there's no solution unless they did some type of explanation in these sequels that I haven't watched of how you actually get rid of these zombies. But terrifying. Again, this movie is funny where it has the, send more paramedics and stuff like that. But the sheer terror and anxiety I had watching this movie, hands down, scariest zombies, maybe scariest zombie movie I watched next to Wreck for this past month, because the punk aspect is great. All the characters in it are great, but man, the zombies in the situation make this movie absolutely terrifying. Brain Dead, aka Dead Alive. I thought this movie was fantastic. And again, I said earlier in this video, I'm not a big like gore, big, type who goes into these movies looking for blood and guts and all that kind of stuff. But this movie, it got to the point where it was so outrageous and there was so much gore and blood and guts that it's like Sideshow Bob stepping on the rakes, where it happens so much where it starts being funny again. This movie, the gore happens so much that it actually, I was into it again, where at first I was like, I'm not into this. Then I was into it. Then I was like, oh, now it's too much. And then finally it got to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm in, just fully in. And again, weirdly, you can see parts of this movie where you can just draw a direct line from this movie to Peter Jackson directing Lord of the Rings. I know it sounds crazy, but there is parts of this movie where it's just so whimsical and just so full of love, where you're just kind of just like, I can see that same kind of blueprint for his scenes of the hobbits in the Shire. And again, I would like to see Peter Jackson kind of return to this genre of filmmaking, which is just like, just make something batshit crazy in like a genre film again, and let's just see, what you can make, because this movie, absolutely fantastic, cannot recommend it enough. Let Sleeping Corpses Lie is the movie, and again, if we were doing out where you're giving out awards, this would be the movie that I went in with the lowest expectations and ended up coming out with the highest glowing reviews of it. I legitimately love this movie. I love the ideas in this movie. I love how they just explain how the zombies happen with these machines that just do something where they're making sound waves into the ground to stop insects from chewing. I just love all that stuff. I love when the zombies actually appear in this movie at the end and kind of all hell breaks loose. The best protagonist in maybe horror movie history is in this movie, where he's just a guy that doesn't wait around for anything, just gets shit done immediately, does not ask questions, just goes and finds answers. This is my pick for least what is it anticipated and most glowing reviews after it, because again, I'd heard nothing about this movie before I watched it, and I went in cold, and then I was like, wow, that was just a fantastic zombie movie and just a fantastic movie. Even though this is not in order, I just want to talk about them together, where we have Night of the Living Dead and then Day of the Dead, two of the George A. Romero zombie films from his first zombie trilogy. And again, Night of the Living Dead, I've seen a million times, rewatched it again at I think day 2 of when I started this exercise this month, and it holds up. It's fantastic. I love that movie. I just think every year it's a must watch around Halloween time because it's just a great mood setter. One of the most disturbing zombie scenes in still to this day, through all these new zombie films that have been made in the 80 years since that movie came out, or however long it is. I'm not good with math. The one of the most disturbing zombie scenes of all time is the little girl killing her mom in the basement. That is still today, when you watch it, that is shocking. And again, I can't believe that scene was made in the 1960s and everybody just didn't have a problem with it, or didn't have a again, I can't believe that movie was made in the 60s and that scene is in it. It's fantastic. I love this movie. I love specifically that scene. The ending is obviously more poignant now than ever. So, Night of the Living Dead, it just holds up as an absolute classic, the absolute Criterion classic that it is. It deserves to be in there. It started this whole genre. Day of the Dead was a movie that I'd never seen before, along with a lot of these movies on here. But Day of the Dead pleasantly surprised me. I loved everything with the zombie whose name is escaping me, but one of the most beloved zombies in zombie movie history, where he just gets his, revenge basically on the person imprisoning him. I love the idea of how Night of the Living Dead is the start, Dawn is the middle, and Day of the Dead's kind of at the end. And the end of the zombie story is like humanity lost. It's over. There's too many zombies. We can't do anything. So now you just see the slow demise of the last few people left, just pretty much throwing up their hands and being like, yeah, we lost. It's over. Like, they're trying to find a cure. They're trying to find a way to live with zombies day to day. And then everybody just kind of at the end realizes, oh, yeah, we can't. That's why I do think I should have watched Land of the Dead, the next George Romero zombie film in this, you know, trilogy that turns into what he adds, I think, 6 more movies total. So he adds 3 more movies after this, but it's just Land of the Dead is kind of what the end of this movie sets up, where it's just like, oh yeah, it's their world now. Like the zombies won. In order, the final 3 are Train to Busan, Dawn of the Dead, the original, and then Shaun of the Dead, taking and still remaining my favorite zombie film of all time. Shaun of the Dead, again, you can go watch that video. I think it's a perfect movie. I don't think it's a perfect zombie movie. I just think it's a perfect movie across the board. It's really funny. It's really touching. It's really poignant. A lot of things are going on in that movie. And again, I've always loved that movie. And watching all these zombie movies, I was like, I wonder if there's going to be a movie that overtakes that. And there wasn't. It's just, again, perfect movie, perfect zombie movie. My favorite zombie movie of all time. One of my favorite movies of all time is Shaun of the Dead. So, maybe one of my favorite scores ever. I love that just little beat that they have running throughout the movie. It still makes me laugh to this day. Shaun of the Dead is the best. Dawn of the Dead is a very close second, though. First time ever watching this. Again, I saw the complete cut, so go watch my review. I'll definitely watch the other versions of this movie now that I have time and I'm not watching just a new movie every day, recording, editing a video, all that kind of stuff. But Dawn of the Dead, again, what can be said about that I haven't already been said or people haven't already said about it, which is just the greatest idea ever for a zombie movie is to set it in a shopping mall and then just kind of just be wish fulfillment. That movie's fun, it's engaging, it's poignant, it's sad, it's funny, it's heartbreaking, it's action packed. It just has everything you want in a zombie movie. It's the most complete zombie movie on this entire list. Because yes, Shaun of the Dead's a perfect movie, but it's also trying to juggle just being a zombie comedy parody movie, where this movie is just straight up a zombie movie where it has all these things in it. It has, the social commentary. It just has everything you want in a zombie movie. It has jokes, it has laughs, it has, beloved characters and all that kind of stuff. So it has an iconic setting. So Dawn of the Dead, the best zombie movie, and then probably the best zombie movie since, the Romero films, because obviously Shaun of the Dead is, just a parody of mostly the Romero zombie films and just zombie films in general. So you have the best parody, the best zombie movie, and I would say Train to Busan is the best modern day zombie movie, which is the zombies are fast moving. They are, what is it? There's just a really good movie under the zombie skin, I will say, of the Train to Busan, experience, which is just great setting for a zombie movie. The terrifying idea that you're just on this train where the next car over is loaded with zombies and you can't stop anywhere because the whole world's overrun with this. So it's like, what do you do? And that is, again, much like how we set this one in a mall with Dawn of the Dead. That's just a great setting, great idea for a zombie movie. And just go watch my review if you just want to hear my glowing, take of just how Train to Busan is one of the best zombie movies you're ever going to see. And there you have it. Train to Busan, Dawn of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, 3, 2, 1 as my 3 favorite zombie movies of all time. Thanks to everybody for sticking around for the 31 days of horror HullabaBoo. Stay right here on the channel where we talk about more movies that don't have zombies in them and then the ones that still do. But I'll try to be doing 2 to 3 videos a week for new movies coming out, for retro reviews, some different stuff on here. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching this. Let me know what your favorite zombie movies are down below and what you thought of my list. Thanks to everybody. This has been the 31 Days of Horror HullabaBoo. This series will return next year, and I already know it's going to be about vampires. So stay tuned a year from now for vampires, but stay tuned weekly for this channel for other reviews. Adios.